முடியும் என்றால் முயற்சி செய், முடியாதுன்னு தெரிஞ்சிருச்சா அதற்கான பயிற்சி எடுங்க. முயற்சியும் பயிற்சியும் சரியான அளவில் இருந்தால் வெற்றி நிச்சயம். இந்த வீடியோ பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கிற ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸில் ஒருவேளை நீங்கள் 11th 12th ரிப்பீட்டர் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்டாக இருந்து நீட் படிக்கணும் அப்படின்ற ஆசை இதுக்கு முன்னாடி உங்களுக்கு இல்லாமல் இருந்திருக்கலாம். மேபி இப்போ நடக்கிற நீட் கவுன்சிலிங், நீட் 2022 கவுன்சிலிங்கை பார்த்து எதிர் வீட்டு அக்கா, பக்கத்து வீட்டு அண்ணன், எம்எம்சி, சிஎம்சி இந்த மாதிரி பெரிய டாப் காலேஜஸில் சீட் வாங்கி ஃப்ரீயாக வந்து எம்பிபிஎஸ், பிடிஎஸ் படிக்கிறத பார்த்து நானும் எம்பிபிஎஸ் படிக்கணும், நானும் டாக்டர் ஆகணும், நானும் ஸ்டெத்தஸ்கோப் மாட்டணும் அப்படின்ற ஆர்வம் உங்களுக்குள்ள வந்திருந்தது அப்படின்னா வித்யாலட்சுமி NEET JEE Academy உங்களுக்காகவே வந்து ரெகுலர் கோர்சஸ், ரிப்பீட்டட் கோர்சஸ் அண்ட் 12th படிச்சுட்டு இருக்கிற ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் 12th படிச்சுட்டு இருக்கும்போது நீட் போர்ட் இது ரெண்டையும் கான்சென்ட்ரேட் பண்ண முடியல அப்படின்றதுனால நீட்டை வந்து ப்ரிப்பரேஷனை ஸ்டாப் பண்ணி வச்சிருந்தீங்க அப்படின்னா உங்களுக்காகவே கிராஷ் கோர்ஸ் வந்து ரொம்ப சீக்கிரமாக நாங்கள் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுறோம். கிராஷ் கோர்ஸ். ஸோ கிராஷ் கோர்ஸ் பற்றின டீட்டெயில்ஸ் வேணும் அப்படின்னா உங்களோட அட்மிஷன்ஸை நீங்கள் போடணும் அப்படின்னா யூ கேன் கான்டாக்ட் திஸ் 2 நம்பர்ஸ் 6369878572 8456028950. இந்த 2 நம்பர்லையுமே நீங்கள் வந்து கான்டாக்ட் பண்ணலாம் உங்களோட கிராஷ் கோர்ஸ் அட்மிஷனை நீங்கள் என்ரோல் பண்ணுறதுக்காக. Here we'll be discussing physiology of human eye. Physiology of a human eye. So human eye contains 3 different layers. Human eye la 3 different layer irukku. One outermost layer, innoda middle layer, and the next one is inner layer. Here are the 3 different layers: outer, middle and inner. The outer is called fibrous layer and the middle is called vascular and the inner is called nervous layer. So from the outside here I have portrayed the image. So in the image பாக்கும்போது உங்களுக்கு clear-ஆ தெரியும் வெளியில இருக்கிற layer வந்து வெளியில outermost layer, this blue color is called the fibrous layer. So on the fibrous layerல என்னென்ன இருக்கும் அப்படினா you have sclera and cornea. These 2 are present in the fibrous layer. Next to fibrous layer நமக்கு என்ன இருக்குன்னா vascular layer. The பேர்லயே இருக்குல்லமா vascular அப்படின்றது blood vessels. Okay, blood vessels ஏன் அங்க இருக்கணும்? Blood vessels ஓட ஃபங்க்ஷன் என்ன அப்படினு பாத்தீங்கன்னா blood ஓட ஃபங்க்ஷன் என்ன அப்படினு தெரிஞ்சாலே நமக்கு இந்த vascular layer ஓட ஃபங்க்ஷன் என்ன நமக்கு தெரிஞ்சிரும். blood ஓட ஃபங்க்ஷன் என்ன அப்படின்னா ஆக்சிஜன் சப்ளை பண்றது பிளஸ் நரிஷ்மென்ட், நியூட்ரியன்ஸை வந்து சப்ளை பண்றதா blood ஓட ஃபங்க்ஷன். ஸோ வாஸ்குலார் லேயர் அப்படின்றது கண்ணுக்கு தேவையான நரிஷ்மெண்ட் அண்ட் ஆக்சிஜனை ஐக்கு சப்ளை பண்றது அதோட ஃபங்க்ஷன். ஸோ வாஸ்குலார் லேயர். நெக்ஸ்ட் டு வாஸ்குலார் லேயர் த வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் லேயர் விச் இஸ் நத்திங் பட் த நர்வஸ் லேயர். ஸோ நியூரல் கண்ட்ரோல் அண்ட் கோஆர்டினேஷன் இந்த சாப்டரே நம்ம படிக்கிறது அபவுட் த நர்வ்ஸ், ஆப்டிக் நர்வ்ஸ். ஓகே, அந்த நர்வ்ஸ் பிரசன்டா இருக்கிற லேயர் வந்து இன்னர் மோஸ்ட் நர்வஸ் லேயர். திஸ் ஆர் ஆல் த 3 different layers of the eyes. Okay, if you take an eyeball itself, so entire eyeball எடுத்துக்கிட்டீங்க அப்படின்னா இந்த eyeball பத்தின basic informations என்னன்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா eyeball வந்து it's hollow and spherical and it is having 24 mm in diameter. ரொம்ப சின்னது 24 mm தான் அதோட diameter, not radius. The diameter itself are 24 mm and it is situated in the cavity called orbital cavity. skull ஓட ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் பார்த்திருக்கீங்களா? இந்த இடத்துல இருக்க cavity தான் நம்ம என்ன சொல்றோம் orbital cavity. நம்ம கண்ணுக்கு தெரியறது visible, the part which is visible from outside. so நம்ம கண்ணுக்கு தெரியறது வந்து just 1/6th portion of the eye. அப்படினா என்ன மீனிங்? so eye நம்ம வந்து 6 parts-ஆ நீங்க கட் பண்ணீங்க அப்படினா 5 parts வந்து not visible. so 5 parts என்ன சொல்ல வராங்க? it is not visible, only the 1/6th of the eye is visible from outside. so வெளியில இருந்து நம்ம பார்க்கிறது கண்ணு அப்படி நமக்கு தெரியுது வந்து just 1/6th portion. so that is what mentioned here, only 1/6th of the eyeball is visible from outside. The wall of eyeball contains 3 principal layers. What are they? Yes, the outermost one is called fibrous. The very important function for the outermost layer is protection. so protection க்காக outermost layer, and the outermost layer நீங்க எடுத்தீங்க அப்படினா next one is the middle layer. This one, middle one, the red colored one, this is called the vascular one. Why vascular? Because it supplies blood vessels. And what is the function of vascular? To give the nourishment and oxygen. so vascular you remove பண்ணனும். next என்ன இருக்கும்? we have a very important layer which is nothing but the nervous layer. so ஒரு லேயர்லயும் என்னென்ன பிரசன்ட்டா இருக்கும் அப்படின்றத நம்ம part by part பார்க்கலாம். so அதுக்கு முன்னாடி fibrous layer contains sclera and cornea, whereas vascular layer contains iris, ciliary body, choroid. Retina contains pigmented layer and neural layer. This is the major information. Next we will move to the fibrous layer. Okay, here is the outer fibrous layer of the eye, which means I can draw here outer fibrous layer of the eye. So this yellow colored portion which I have drawn is called sclera. This is called what? Sclera. Sclera அப்படின்றது என்ன அப்படினா the outermost portion which will be white in color. What is the color of sclera? Yes, I have written here. What is the color of sclera? It is white in color. பார்க்கிறதுக்கு வெள்ளை கலர்ல இருக்கும். And the nature of the sclera is opaque. What does it mean by opaque? Opaque means it will not allow the light to pass through it. So it is opaque. So sclera is white in color, opaque, and the very important point over here is it is made up of a dense connective tissue. What type of connective tissue? It is a dense connective tissue, and the sclera is the thing which gives the shape to your eyeball. So நம்மளோட கண்ணுக்கான shape கொடுக்கிறதே எதுன்னு சொல்றாங்க? This sclera. Sclera அப்படின்றது it is not visible. See, if you see here that வெள்ளை கலர்ல இருக்குல்ல, that is called sclera. இந்த sclera ஓட connection front portion என்ன அப்படினு பாத்தீங்கன்னா front portion என்ன அப்படினு பாத்தீங்கன்னா this one is called cornea. This one is called cornea. Cornea is exact opposite to the sclera. See, cornea does not contain anything. It is avascular, does not contain any blood vessels. You know, in fact, world la nadakra adhiga surgeries, adhiga transplant surgeries la first place la irukkiradhu cornea transplant. In the cornea அப்படின்றது it is a avascular. Avascular means it does not have any blood vessels. It does not have any blood vessels. What does it mean? No blood vessels. No blood vessels. So no blood vessels, there is no problem of compatibility matching, right? So cornea is the highest, you know, which is transplanted more number of times. Cornea. So cornea, what is the important information about cornea? It is avascular, which means no blood vessels at all, and it is a transparent layer. It is what? Transparent layer. Transparent அப்படினா என்ன? Light can pass from one to another. You can, you know, it is visible from outside to inside. So here is the cornea. From here to here it is cornea. In the image la பாருங்க, இங்க இருந்து இங்க வரைக்கும் இருக்குது cornea. அதுக்கு பின்னாடி இருக்கிற portion வந்து sclera. Here I have written what is sclera and what is cornea. This is the outer fibrous layer which is nothing but sclera and cornea. Next is the middle vascular layer. I already told you the middle vascular layer, the important function of the layer which is nothing but choroid. We can simply tell this one as choroid அப்படினு சொல்லலாம். So here I am drawing the choroid. Before that we will draw the outer structure of the eye. So outer structure of the eye which is nothing but sclera and cornea. These two structures are nothing but sclera and cornea. Now I am taking another color so that you can easily find out. See here, this one is called, the second one is called choroid. The second one is called choroid. You can easily identify. The choroid layer gets modified into ciliary body. What is this one? This is choroid. And this portion is called ciliary body, and from the ciliary body arises iris. So these three together call the middle vascular layer which is nothing but choroid. So choroid gets modified into ciliary body, then the ciliary body gets modified into iris. That's all about the middle vascular layer. Now little bit extra information about choroid. The color of the choroid is bluish in color. We have discussed the sclera is white in color and it is made up of a dense connective tissue, whereas choroid here is bluish in color and it contains numerous blood vessels. Yes, just now we have discussed what is the function of blood: to supply oxygen and to give nourishment. ஏன் மேம் அங்க blood vessels இருக்கணும் அப்படினா because that particular cells need to respire, right? So they need oxygen and nourishment. Yes, as because it contains lot of blood vessels, very important. This choroid is called uveal layer. This is called what? Uveal layer, and it nourishes the eyeball. How come it nourishes the eyeball? With the help of the supply of blood. So there is a blood supply, so why the function is called nourishment. So this is the middle vascular layer, and another information here is, see, this middle vascular layer, which is nothing but the choroid, right? So here I am drawing only choroid. So this is ciliary body, and here comes iris. Okay, now the gap which is present over here, now the gap is called pupil. Now the gap is called what? Pupil. And backside to the ciliary muscle, what is attached is suspensory ligament. This is what? Ligament. And towards the suspensory ligaments, I'll take another color so that you can easily identify. This is very, very important, lens. So lens is fixed with the help of ligament. Lens is fixed with the help of ligament. Here you can see, this is lens. Here you can see the lens. This is lens. And the lens is attached with the help of what? Ligaments. And this is nothing but ciliary body. Ciliary body. So in the choroid portion of the eye, you can easily identify what are all the things present. Choroid, ciliary body, iris. The gap between the iris is called pupil, and backside to the ciliary muscle, what is attached? Ligaments are attached. To the ligaments, what is attached? A lens. What type of lens? A biconvex lens. What type of lens is present? Biconvex and a crystalline lens. And a crystalline lens, very, very important. Biconvex and crystalline lens are present to the ligaments which is attached to the ciliary muscle. Yes. So next is the ciliary body. Here I have shown you the ciliary body very clearly. So you can notice here ciliary body. Yes. So ciliary body is this portion. This portion is called ciliary body. To the ciliary body, what is attached? The front side is iris is attached. And next one is the zonules, and the zonules are nothing but ligaments. Nothing but ligaments. I already told you what is ligament, what is tendon and what is ligament. Ligaments are for mainly for bone to bone connection. Ligaments function is bone to bone connection. Okay, here we will discuss ciliary body contains two types of smooth muscle fiber. We already know that smooth muscles are not under our control, it is under the control of brain. Yes, smooth muscle fibers which is nothing but circular and longitudinal muscle that attach near the corneoscleral junction. What is that corneoscleral junction? The place where cornea, this is cornea, right? I'll take another color. This is cornea, right? This is cornea, and here is sclera. So the place where here is sclera. So the place where cornea and sclera gets attached is called corneoscleral junction. So corneoscleral junction contains the two different types of muscle fiber, circular and longitudinal muscle fiber. It plays an important role during accommodation for near vision. What does that accommodation means exactly? Accommodation means like if you are focused towards a long distance object, suppose நீங்க இருக்கிற இடத்துல இருந்து ரொம்ப டிஸ்டன்ஸ்ல இருக்கிற ஆப்ஜெக்ட்ஸ் நீங்க பார்க்கணும் அப்படினா, yes, you can see normally, but when you want to see the near objects, your eye have to adjust. What is accommodation? It is the adjustment of the eye with respect to the distance. Like if it is a long distance, certain type of adjustment is needed. If it is towards you, then certain type of adjustment is needed. So accommodation is nothing but adjustment according to the distance. Yes, it is done by which one? Ciliary body, very important. And the next one is iris. Yes, just now we have seen what is iris. Here I am drawing once again what is iris. So let us take, this is a choroid layer. Here is the ciliary body. From the ciliary body, the extension is called iris, and this one is nothing but ciliary body. And ciliary body extends from which layer? Choroid. Extends from which layer? choroid இல்லமா so choroid ciliary body iris நீங்க பார்த்திருப்பீங்க நிறைய பேத்துக்கு வந்து கண்ணோட கலர் வந்து சேஞ்ச் ஆகும் இல்லையா black blue brown so the different colors of eyes is due to the color the pigment which is present in the iris very important information you can notice that color of the eye is different it might be black brown blue due to what due to the pigment which is present in the iris and it is opaque and it is a muscular structure which one is a muscular structure the iris itself is a muscular structure it also contains two types of muscles what are they circular muscle and radial muscle very very important what is the technical term of circular muscle and radial muscle sphincter pupillae and dilated pupillae or the technical term for circular and radial muscle whereas the same muscles like circular and longitudinal type is present in ciliary body circular and radial muscle is seen in the iris now you know what is ciliary body what is iris what is choroid these three what three choroid ciliary body and iris these three together constitute what which layer very good vascular layer contributes which layer vascular layer of the eye so very first layer is protective layer it contains only two things one is sclera and cornea the second one is vascular it contains what choroid ciliary body and iris yes next one is the inner nervous layer which is the third layer here comes this third layer number 3 which is nervous layer which is nothing but we'll commonly call it as a retina we'll call it as what retina so retina contains two different layers one is a pigmented layer which does not contain rods and cones pigmented layer does not contain rods and cones and the next one is nervous layer which contains rods and cones which contains what rods and cones so retina contains two different portions one is pigmented and another one is nervous so here I am drawing the first one which is the outermost layer sclera and this is cornea and the second one is what is this choroid and this is iris now the third layer retina I am taking red color so from here to here the layer which is completely present is called pigmented layer the layer which I have drawn in the red color you can see that image also this is called pigmented layer this one is called what pigmented layer you can notice something pigmented layer is present all over the choroid all over the middle vascular layer till iris it have present right okay now we'll move to the next layer I am just choosing another color yes you can easily identify I am choosing blue so from here to here which means not fully only at like certain portions of the retina this blue one is called nervous layer this one is called what nervous or neuronal layer this layer contains the photosensitive pigments rods and cones so rods and cones are present only in the nervous layer in case of pigmented layer there is no rods and cones is it clear yes this is the inner nervous layer called retina very important layer of the eye so here I have written the outer pigmented layer of epithelial cells and the inner layer of the nerve cells so what's blind spot blind spot is nothing but the place you know all the nerves of the eye converge all the nerves of the eye the nerves of the eye converge like this to form a nerve called optic nerve. To form a nerve called optic nerve. Optic nerve. The place where the optic nerve leaves the retina. Retina and the optic nerve velila pora the particular place, a location, we'll call it as optic disc. We'll call it as optic disc. Here you can notice this is called the nerve fibers. So the optic nerve which leaves the retina here, it is called optic disc. This particular location is called what? Optic disc. As because there is no cones are present, it is also known as blind spot. Why blind spot? Because no vision is possible there, because you cannot sense any images over there. That's why it is called blind spot. Why blind spot? Because the optic nerve which leaves from the eye towards the brain, so in that particular place you does not contain, you cannot spot any kind of rods and cones. That's why it is called what? Blind spot. So that's what the definition I have written here. All nerve fibers converge to form optic nerve. Area of retina where optic nerve leaves the eyes is called optic disc. It contains no rods and cones. Yes. Next is the yellow spot. What is yellow spot? You know blind spot, but the next one is yellow spot. Very important, yellow spot. Yellow spot is the portion where it is, exactly opposite to the blind spot. Blind spot does not contain any rods and cones, but yellow spot contains more and more of cones. Yellow spot contains more and more number of cones. Yellow spot is the posterior pole of the eye where the yellow pigmented spot called macula lutea. Yes, you can sense in this image also. You can see that particular portion in this image also. See here. Here, this particular portion is called macula lutea. Why? Because that is the place where the cones are densely packed. Ma'am, what is cones? Yes, I will be discussing what is cones in the next slide. Okay, the cones are densely packed in the portion called macula. Inside the macula, there is a particular portion called fovea centralis. Fovea centralis, these together called yellow spot. These together called what? Yellow spot, which marks the location of fovea centralis. Rod-free portion of retina, cones are densely packed, which means it does not contain any rods, but it contains only cones. What is rod? What is cone? I will be discussing next. So here is the photoreceptors. Photoreceptors are nothing but, the main pigments, rods and cones. Rods and cones. You can easily remember what is the function of rods and cones by the name itself. C for C, cones for color. Cones for color vision and rods for dim light vision. Rods for dim light vision. So here I have written, so rods are extremely sensitive to light, which means you cannot use the rods in the bright light. So they are receptors for dim light. So why it is called scotopic vision. Scotopic vision means nothing but the dim light vision. Scotopic vision. Whereas in opposite, in contrast to that, cones are responsible for bright light, which is called photopic vision. Photopic vision means yes, you can see something in the bright light also, that is due to the presence of cones. Yes, here is the image which shows you the rods and cones arrangement. Yes, here you can see the cones. See here, cones. Cones are of three types. Cones are of three types. Why three types? Because three types of opsons are present. See, be it rods or cones. Rods or cones. Both the rods and cones contains two types of things with them. One is retinal. What is retinal? Retinal portion is a pigmented portion. Retinal is a pigmented portion. Whereas opsin is a amino acid chain, which is nothing but opsin is a protein portion. Opsin is what? Protein portion. In case of cones, cones are of three types. Why three types? Because it contains three types of opsin, which is nothing but photopsin, 1, 2 and 3. As because cones contain three types of photopsin, 1, 2, 3, there are three different flavors of cones which are marked in this diagram, 1, 2, 3, and the other one are considered to be the rods. Rods, why ma'am name given rods, cones? Because their shape is like that. You can see here cone is little bit, it is getting the cone shape, but whereas rod is getting the shape like a rod shape. That's why the name rods and cones. Okay. So the very important point to be noted here is rods are responsible for dim light vision and the cones are responsible for color vision. So that's why it is called scotopic vision and photopic vision respectively. Okay, next. This is the basic difference between the rod cells and cone cells, which is very important for you. Okay, location in retina, where the rod cells is found around the periphery. Periphery means around the sides. Okay, the rods are found around the periphery, but whereas the cones found around the center, which is nothing but we have discussed yellow spot, right? Fovea or macula. So yellow spot, fovea. And optimal light conditions, when it works actually, எப்ப அது work பண்ணும் அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா during the dim light which means night vision and bright light during the day vision. So dim light is for rods and the bright light is for cones. Next is acuity. Acuity means like the resolution. Resolution means what? The clarity which gives you the high amount of clarity. See, if you take rods have low resolution and whereas cones have high resolution. So many rods contribute together to form one bipolar cell, which means you need in numerals, right? Because you see their resolution is very less, so they are needed in huge amount. But if you take cones, you see just one cone is giving to one bipolar cell because their resolution is very high. Yes, color sensitivity, it can respond to all the wavelength, but if you see like cones are responsible for color vision, CC, right? So primary colors RGB, red, green and blue. So certain wavelengths only the primary colors are responded easily by the cones. Yes, type of vision, if you see achromatic means black and white. Certain animals they cannot see all the colors as like human beings, because in human beings we have a well defined eye, so they cannot see all colors, they can see only black and white. That is called achromatic. Whereas you can see all the shades of all the shades of colors, then it is considered to be a color vision. We humans have a color vision. Yes, and the number of types is all contain rhodopsin. See, only one type of rhodopsin is there, because one type of rhodopsin, so only one type of rods is there. But just now we have discussed cones have 3 different flavors, because I told you photopsin 1, photopsin 2, photopsin 3. So 3 types of photopsin makes 3 different flavors of cones. So 3 different types of photopsin pigments makes 3 different flavors of cones. Yes. Next, the relative abundance. Yes, cones have a high resolution, so their presence is very less. But if you take rods, their resolution is very low, so their presence is more. So it's like opposite. Okay, so many and fewer. Okay, that's it for today's lecture. I'll be seeing you in the next lecture. Subscribe Vidhyalakshmi NEET JEE Academy YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.